in your mind for you and for I. I'm trying to decide from the look in your eyes, yeah. I mean besides, but your feelings inside you, I'm messing up my mind.
Yeah, you're right. Episode 36. We back up in this. Shout out to all the insiders who are listening to this podcast right now. We appreciate it. If it's your first time, thanks for sitting down. We hope you enjoy the discussion. This is Inside the RV, a podcast about entrepreneurship, work ethic, self-development, and becoming the best version of yourself. You're joined by your two lovely hosts. I'm one of them. My name's Jacob Moore.
My name is Ryan Ramirez.
And together we are an artist and artist manager duo trying to come up and be successful in the music industry. So sit back, relax, listen to our stories as we chronicle them in real time, and we tell you about the things we learn and the things that we do. So let's get it. I think both of us are organization freaks.
Yeah.
Maybe in some situations I more of am than you are, and vice versa. But for the most part, I think you and I are pretty critical about how we organize everything from relationships to our day-to-day lives to the way we conduct business. There's always some sort of organization going on. And so you brought that up to me, and you said that you think that's super, super important for someone on the come up. So what's up with that?
So for me, I think there's different kinds of organization, like, clutter organization or like physical organization, time organization. For me, I'm a freak about like blocks of time organization. So that's why, like, usually, if I'm like, hey, so-and-so, let's meet up at 7 or something. Yeah. I've always been irked by like, oh, can we push it to like 8 or whatever? Just because I feel like I plan my whole day to get certain things done, so that way we could do things at 7. Obviously, I've got a lot better at it, but like I'm just aware that naturally, like, that's what irks me. Just because I'm really big on like time blocks, because I feel like I've learned like the most successful people are the ones who care about each minute of each day. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, there's an extreme to that, but for me, I'm just like, I want to make sure I'm using the most out of my day, and it's not just like lollygagging around and like just like, pushing things back. Like, I want to make sure it's like structured. I'm not perfect with it, but I think my mind is just like gravitates towards that. Like, I gravitate towards that perfection with it, and it could be a fault, but it could be a strength too. I'm learning to balance it though.
If you have time organized, then you can organize everything else.
Yeah.
Physical stuff that you need to organize, if you need to move things around in your garage, if you need to organize something for business, whatever it is, if you can stay organized with your time, and you're so disciplined that you could stick to it, obviously allowing a little bit of time for life things to happen. Like if you get an offender bender or something, or life happens. Yeah. And you should organize time for that too. Which is dope. But if you have time organized, you give yourself the ability to go out and organize everything else in your life with a little bit less stress and a little bit more focus, because you've allotted yourself the ideal amount of time to get something done. That's something too that I want to touch on. When you are organizing your time, and I want to say that I'm just continually trying to improve my own ability to organize time. I'm not good at it. I'll say it, but I've gotten a hell of a lot better. And I just want to continue, getting better at organizing my time into ways and blocks that will allow me to perform 10 times better when I'm actually using that time. Because it's one thing to sit there and organize your time, like, cool, but it's another thing to stick to that and to actually get shit done in the blocks that you set up for yourself. So how I said it gives you focus, it's one of those things where if you set up a certain amount of time to accomplish a particular task, then that means you've alleviated any external distraction that could come into that time block, which allows you to focus because you specifically gave yourself this time period to accomplish something. And that's what's dope about, like, like if you go and work out and you're just like, whatever, I'm gonna do my workout. But if you go and work out and you say, you know what, I'm gonna give myself 45 minutes or an hour, I give myself 1 hour for warming up, for, getting my joints all mobile and everything, and then for doing a couple warm-up sets, and then really going in and then cooling down, stretching. Like, if you give yourself a certain time block, I guarantee you're gonna smash that workout, because number one, you can focus, this is your time to do it, and then also that time block is going to end. So you got to prepare yourself for the next thing that's about to come up, which I think is cool. I think it helps your work ethic and your ability to get shit done in that time block. Yeah,
like for me, I'm for the most part like very on time with shit and with people and stuff, but with that comes like an anxiety throughout the day. Like I have an urgency. I get that from my mom because my mom's very like you know, like if something's coming up at this time, like you're rushing around shit to make sure you get there on that time. So I'm like that. Like I'm very urgent, like anxious in that way. Whereas, you know, I think there's other people who, you know, take their time and shit. Like let's just go with the flow type shit. And I'm trying to get better at that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like very anal about that shit. Honestly, like you are the only person to where like if we have to push something for me or for you or whatever it is, like I'm so close to you now that it's like. Like it doesn't irk me anymore, like with what we do, but just other people in general, because I feel like for some reason, I don't know if it's a bad way to think about it like this, but if someone is like pushing shit back, like that just tells me I'm not prioritized by them, because if I was, then they would make it a point to get there at that time, like because they put that at the top of their list, and they're gonna push other things back. You know what I'm saying? But I'm aware that's probably not realistic for most people, because you know what I'm saying, like shit happens, life, like what you said, life happens and stuff. And people just don't live with that anxiety, like to be on time and shit. Which, so I understand that. But for me, I grew up differently because my mom's like that. So like I'm trying to learn, you know.
My family's kind of, or at least the way I was raised was kind of the opposite. Not the opposite, but it was definitely different.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a huge emphasis on being punctual, let's say.
Yeah.
Or there was, but if it fell through and we weren't punctual, it was like, whatever.
I feel, yeah.
At least that's how I interpreted it. My parents could listen to this and be like, dude, you're so wrong. Like, you know, we were trying to be punctual, whatever.
Yeah.
So for me, that's now I kind of have that negative trait of I'm not punctual. I'm not really on time to things. And it's the hardest thing for me to learn now, dude. It's one of those things where like from my childhood, like I never gave a shit about being on time to anything school. Dude, I went through, you know, 1st through 12th grade and 4 years of college, and I was late probably 70% of the time.
Really?
Because I just didn't give a fuck. You know? But to your point, it shows that I didn't prioritize that. I didn't care about school. You know what I mean? Or at least not enough to make me feel super bad or want to change my behavior.
But what I'm learning off that is like, it's not a personal thing. Because like, I would take that as a personal thing, like, oh, I'm not prioritized by that person. I would take it personally, like, oh, like they just don't care about me. But I've realized like it's not that. It's just like it's the habit thing. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying it's more of like it's not that they're doing something personally wrong to you. It's that they lack a certain trait or maybe have a preference for feeling okay for like pushing things off.
Like, but what I'm learning is like there's no right or wrong with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's no like, oh, if you're not punctual, if you're not pushing things back, like that's not how it should be. Like, nah, it's just like people are just different with things.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm like my perspective is changing on like just being aware of how different people operate, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. And another thing to that is, you know, there's times where I'm gonna be super punctual and not.
Yeah.
If I'm going out, I don't care about being punctual. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're going out to party or whatever, it's like, dude, like let's just live in reality right now and whatever. But if I'm, you know, if I've got a ton of business stuff to do day to day, I'm going to be as punctual as I can be and really be on it. But I think that's part of the fun of it is like it's punishment and then reward. You know, punishment and then reward. You get to stay in these organized time blocks and really kill it and do a lot of high value stuff, higher value than usual, because you've given yourself this allotted amount of time where you can really focus and you're organizing your day. It's dope. But you're kind of living within these confines of this structure that you've set up for yourself. And time is the one thing that everybody, you know, nobody wants to run out of time.
Yeah.
You know, time is the one thing that truly is finite for us. So it's one of those things where it's cool that you can set that up for yourself and really discipline yourself and be able to perform at a high level. Then when you get into a situation where you can throw all that behind you and say, oh, I'm gonna just live for today. I'm on vacation, whatever. You just throw that behind you and the feeling's like pretty good. You're like, wow, I've been killing it and now I'm rewarding myself and I can do whatever the fuck I want. Then you really party. Then you really go hard, you know?
Yeah, see, like now, like this whole time we started this podcast and like since like 2 years ago, I've been just recalibrating, like trying to find the pocket, because in the beginning, like, you know, I was just like anal as fuck about like the power list and like boom, like go like like
Dude,
going ham with it.
Dude, Ryan would make me move shit on Photoshop like 2 millimeters to the right. This guy,
that's still happening, but
yeah, that's true.
that's the details. But like, as far as like my day in the organization, the power list and being disciplined and shit, like I was so with it because I was trying to get out of my anxiety and like, you know, overwhelmingness or whatever. So I was doing that, and it was good because it pushed me forward. But when you do it too much, like you're in chains. It's like you're imprisoned in like your mind, and like you're never good enough, and it's just like it could become a problem, you know. And so what I learned from you was, even though you're disciplined as well, like we're both going hard and shit, like you're way better at like balancing with like cool shit and like life shit and like experiencing, which is what you need too. So I learned that from you. And so I was recalibrating, like, okay, boom, trying to figure out like, okay, what's the best use of my time overall as a human being and not just like a workaholic. You know what I'm saying? And I've definitely felt way better about myself the past few months, like just playing a little more, but still having, because I'm still a believer that like you still need an organization of your day. Like you can't just like, you can't go around and just like hope for the best and fly with the wind and just like, and just think you're gonna get somewhere if you're not having like, if you're not like able to gauge your actions. Like that's why like I still love the power list. I'm not like the 5 power list with like WL anymore. But I still do it on my phone. Like I'll make a list of the things that I should do. And I just feel like an organizational list like that just really, like that's all you need. Like it's like without it, I don't like, the thing is without it, if you don't have a list, you never know like what you're missing out on what you're doing. Like, because you're kind of just playing it day by day and you feel good during the day. So you don't know, like, okay, I should have done these few things because you didn't, like, think about it. But if you write them down, then you have a gauge of, like, okay, am I really moving forward as time is going on, or is time just going on and I'm not sure about it?
I think the biggest thing about writing out a list is that it's something physical, tangible that you can open and look back on.
Yeah.
So there's definitely smart people out there who can just build a list in their head and wake up the next morning and be like, oh, I got to do these 5 things. There definitely is.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
But no one has the memory to be able to recall every single one of those 5 things per day they did for a month, 6 months, a year, whatever. And that's why it's dope to be able to gauge your progress in something physical that you can feel and touch and look back on and be like, wow, a different Jacob wrote this 6 months ago. You know what I'm saying? That was a completely different Jacob. And something I'll tell you about my to-do list that tripped me out, I try not to look back in them. But sometimes I do, and I open it, and there's, you know, periods where I only crossed off one thing, or I didn't cross off anything, or I didn't do a list, or whatever. And then there's like these periods, especially now, where I'm just like hammering it out.
Yeah.
And that is like so good to look back on and to see, and it's so motivating. So yeah, if I didn't have that list and I didn't write it out, I wouldn't be able to do that. And that's just further motivation, you know? So I think that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. I always feel like the list is just something simple that it's just like an everyday thing. And I think for me, like actually doing the list has became a habit for me for the past 2 years. I don't need to do the WL thing anymore. But I mean, not saying like I'm perfect with it, but like I definitely get shit done. And I know you do too. But what was up?
What would you say to an upcoming music artist or someone in a more creative role like you about creating time blocks and organizing their time? Because number one, I want to go off on a tangent because I think there's something relevant to the answer you could possibly give. And number 2, you've got great insight on that. So,
I think first just mapping out like what are the skills you need to get better at, and then put each skill in its own category on the list. So like for me, it's like reading is something I just love, but it's also good to have more knowledge. So that's one thing. Working out just is another health thing, but at the same time, it's an artist thing, the image. And then dancing, that's another skill. Like not every artist dances, but like that's one for me. So that's that. And then working on a song or singing or whatever. Like I feel like artists have different categories of things to work on. So I think just simply just putting them in different tasks, you know?
Yeah, but if you're too strict in that, is there such a thing as that happening? Because basically what I'm trying to get at is I feel like when artists restrict themselves into time blocks too much, which is something that you've experienced, then it actually kind of shuns your creativity.
Yeah. We did talk about that. I think also it's like knowing yourself. Like if you're naturally just lazy and you don't get shit done and you want to be an artist, but you know in your heart that you're not really like doing work, like I think you just have to do that. Like I think you have to, just to get it started, to build that habit.
Yeah.
You know? Because like before the powerless that I was doing, I would say like I would sing here and there and shit, but I wasn't growing at the right rate. You know? Like it was kind of like over the years getting a little bit better with experiences or whatever, but until I got on the list, it was like disciplining me. Okay, like I'm getting better, like at a consistent rate now. So I think if you're just not like improving, first you got to ask yourself in your heart, like, are you really growing at a good rate? And if not, then you may need to sit down and task out and discipline yourself to get that. Like someone like John Mayer, after that documentary we watched and shit like that, it seems like he just naturally was like so obsessed that he was like, until he had to go to sleep like playing guitar and shit, as what he made it sound like. But I'm sure he didn't have like a task list to do that. He just did it. But so if you're like that, like, nah, you don't need to do that. Like that would shun your creativity, like what you said. But I think that if you're not like that and you're going out with friends all the time and just like not really pursuing your goal, you may need to do that. You know,
I think it just comes down to if you're disciplined.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I definitely need to work on my discipline in all areas.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, organizing my time and being conscious of how I'm working when I'm using that time, it was really important for me.
Yeah.
I had to write that down. I had to track that stuff just so I knew that I was growing at the rate that I wanted to.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, get it, man.
Okay. No, I think you need that if you're in a place in your life, in your career, where you're not really surrounded by that too. Like, I feel like when you're surrounded by people that are doing it, then you naturally do it. And it's like you become better at a good rate. But if you're by yourself and getting started, like you may need to do that to push.
But guess what? People who are organizing their time, going hard, steadily progressing upward to the right on the graph, killing it. The people who basically you want to get to their level, they are never going to kick it with you or notice you if they don't see you grinding and trying to get to that level also.
Yeah.
No one's going to put you on. Maybe someone will and be really nice and really see something in you, but they have to see something in you. So you can't just, that's another thing about organizing your time and putting in work. You know, you attract what you put out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you put out that you're grinding, people will notice that. And then people will come and they will give you opportunities because they're going to say, oh, we have something in common and I think we can help each other now.
Yeah.
You know, which is dope. Another thing I wanted to talk about was with any type of work, guys, you reach a point of diminishing return. I just don't. You can't tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
You know, some people, that point on the graph where their returns begin to diminish is way higher than other people's.
Yeah.
Some people like Elon Musk, you know, can sleep for 5 hours a night or whatever and just go.
Yeah.
And other people like that, you know. But you have your own personal point of diminishing return, meaning that you can operate at such a high level and you can get so much shit done during the day, but you're eventually, if you go way too hard, you could burn yourself out. So here's what I'm going to say, because there's going to be some people who are like, oh, is this motherfucker just saying that like once you get to that point, you just stop? No, that's not what I'm fucking saying. What I'm trying to say is that when you work and you start seeing tons and tons of output, if you're putting in so much that it negatively affects you, meaning you're not getting enough sleep, you're maybe hanging around with the wrong people, it's just taking too much of a, you know, there's too much mental difficulty and challenge with what you're doing, your output is going to begin to suffer. So once you reach that point, right before your returns begin to diminish, you need to stop and give yourself a self-assessment, and you need to say, okay, so I'm operating at level, 80% or whatever. What can I do to bump this up over the next month to 80, 81, 82, 83? And you got to go from there, because what happens is, guys like me and Ryan, and I'm sure a lot of people listening could agree, I'm an aggressive guy. I want to go hard. If you tell me we're working out tomorrow, I'm going to say, cool, let's do it. And then once we're done with the workout, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to work out every day for the next whatever. You know, if Ryan and I are talking business with someone and then we leave the meeting, I'm going to call them as soon as we get back in the car and be like, yo, man, thanks for the meeting. Yo, I'm on it. I'm aggressive. I want to get it. But I'm one of those people that has a low point of diminishing return, or I had one. You know, so I'd be grinding and then I'd burn myself out because maybe like I'm spending too much time doing something or whatever it is. So then I had that realization that self-assessment is so important. Organizing your time into blocks, but not so much that you're operating at a level that's not optimal. You're constantly trying to find right behind the point where shit's gonna hit the fan, right? Like you want to operate so much and so well that shit's about to hit the fan, but peel it back and make it sustainable. Peel it back, make it sustainable, and then get a whiteboard out and brainstorm and write it down and try to figure out how to get yourself that inch forward and then go. Because I guarantee, you know, if you go at 1,000,000% every single day, you know, it's a constant learning phase. Yeah. So you got to continually learn.
Yeah, that consistent rise is way better than the dome and then the peak. Going so hard, and then the valley because you're burnt the fuck out, and then the peak and the valley. Like it's better just to go on that consistent rise. But I think that's like the most essential skill as an entrepreneur, or just anybody trying to be successful. Like that, we're still like trying to calibrate and learn. Is like, okay, yes, there is a diminishing return, absolutely. Now it's that self-awareness and that honesty with yourself that you're saying to know like what that feels like and what it feels like to know to slack off and to trick yourself into thinking that like there's that sweet spot, which is exactly what you just said. And so you don't want to burn yourself out, but then you want to make sure you're ahead and getting ahead consistently. So I think that just comes with like time and experience. Like we're still trying to get better at that, you know? Totally. And we'll always try to get better at that. But we're definitely way better at it now than we were like 2 years ago when we started. So it's just a never ending cycle.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing you can do to help your own time management and organization with your time is get really good at saying no. Yeah. Stop feeling bad because your homie has hit you up 3 times in the last week and you can't hang out. Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's like, dude, you know, if they're real cool with you and they really want you to succeed, they'll be like, yo, I get it. Of course, when you're talking to your best friends or whatever, you're trying to figure shit out. You're trying to make things happen. You want to go out and get lunch. You want to go on that camping trip. You want to make it happen or whatever. Or you want to go to that party or you want to go to a different meeting or whatever it is. But there's going to be times where you just got to say no. And you can't feel bad about it because you got to know that that's contributing to you being able to better organize your time. You know, so don't feel obligated just because your friends are telling you, yo, we got to go out or this or that or whatever. If you're still hung up on the fact that you're missing out on so much because you're putting so much into your entrepreneurial journey, all your friends are going to leave, you just got to get the fuck over that, dude. Yeah. That's really the biggest thing I've learned. And it sucks, you know, like Ryan and I don't just get up here and talk a bunch of shit like this because we think we're the shit. It's like, dude, we've had to like really stop kicking it with our friends and do a lot of like shit like that, you know, because that's what's allowed us to get to the next level that we wanted to get to. And a lot of times today, yesterday, like right now in my life, Jacob Moore in April of 2021, like I still wake up some mornings and I'm like, fuck man, like I feel like I should be texting like so-and-so over here to catch up because like I've just been way out here in the boonies doing my own shit. But now I just don't allow myself to feel bad about that because I know that I'm setting myself up to be able to spend as much time with anybody as I fucking want. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to have that freedom and that creative control in my career because right now I'm grinding it out. I'm fucking grinding it out.
Yeah, like for me, which it sounds like for you too, it became, I use hanging out with people and like external things like going out or whatever as like a bonus to like recharge me a little bit. But like the main thing is like alone time. Like I need to be alone like 95% of my time to really just discover and research and study myself and just like have that awareness and you know and get shit done and like all that. Like I really value that alone time, which I think a lot of people get away from because anxiety creeps up and you know, people find themselves trying to get out of boredom. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know though. That alone time is key for me, and I think it's key. It should be key for everybody. I think that's like being alone is where you really discover yourself. You know, not right away, but like just over time and over years. Like I think that's obviously why like monks are like by themselves, and they're like the most wise ones. You know, because they get away and they're with themselves. And so I think that's like super key, especially like in an industry like the music industry where there's just so much noise and it's like it's scary and there's a lot of bullshit and just a lot of stuff. Like you just have to be like, you have to stay centered. And so that alone time is super key. And the meditations, bro, I'm realizing like the older I get, like that shit's so like necessary. At least I've found joy in that. But like I get it now why people are like, the older people get, like the more they research like meditation and stuff, because it's like adulting's hard too. That's another thing. Like on top of the business and the music industry, like adulting is like a whole new thing too. So that alone time is very key. And but like what you said, like you can't negate like other people, but I think there's a way to which it kind of does sound selfish, but there's a way to like keep them around, but like not be so invested. But then I think about it, I'm like, the right people to surround yourself with that are the most successful, they're doing that with me too. You know, like it's not just like I'm like stiff arming people, but still they're still my life. But like if they were the right people, they're also doing that to me because they need their alone time because they're trying to be successful. So, yeah.
You just went in.
I got lost in the sauce right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so scary to find yourself.
It is.
Because a lot of times on the journey to finding yourself, you find this person who you don't want to be.
Yeah.
And that's what's been, I think, really scary about trying to be an entrepreneur and trying to live my life leading myself. I don't want to be led by my employer or whoever else, I want Jacob Moore to lead his own life, and part of that was discovering who is Jacob Moore and can I trust him? You know what I'm saying? So I had to go inside, and I'm still doing that and searching, and sometimes I find this kid who's just like standoffish inside of me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the journey of self-discovery is probably the most important thing that's going to happen to you in your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
It's a journey within a journey.
No, for real.
No, but seriously, yeah. So I think that's the scary part about people, when you try to push people off and you're just going to say, yo, I'm going to do my own thing. You start learning a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about yourself that you don't like.
Yeah.
It's the truth. You learn a lot about yourself, about things that you could be doing better. And then guess what? You compare yourself to homeboy on social media. You compare yourself to hot ass girl on social media. You compare yourself to dude in the music industry who's 10 steps ahead of you, even though it's a game with infinite steps.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I agree. That's what's scary about it. Like we all have to face ourselves, like at some point in our life or in increments. Like you can't get away from that because you're always you. So it's like you're always gonna come back to the real you, and it's scary, But I think that's what's like beautiful about it too. Like I'm realizing like that's just what life's about. Like life's about really honing in on who you are, and I feel like when you get to that place where you're able to just be 100% you and not give a fuck like if people fuck with you or not, and you just accept the ones that accept you. That's like, as cliche as that sounds, like I feel like that's like true bliss right there, because that weight gets off your shoulders and you can just truly just live freely and then enjoy the people that enjoy you, So,
dude, that was dope.
Fire.
That was dope.
Yeah.
You got anything else to add?
Organization is key.
Yeah, bro. All right. Hey, everyone. We appreciate you guys listening. That was episode 36.
Yeah.
Damn, 36 weeks in. Ryan and I have a lot of cool stuff coming up. We're trying to expand our team. We're trying to do a lot of cool shit with Ryan's brand. And I think Ryan and I have a lot more clarity now. We never really update people kind of even on like the music business situation, like with your career. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of tell everybody. But I think my role as a manager in the future is going to change a lot for good and be awesome. And Ryan's role as an artist is just going to continue to develop and change. And I think we're doing a lot of cool stuff, man. So for everybody listening, be prepared for a lot of like really cool surprises.
It's been a lot of learning.
Yeah, man.
A lot of fucking learning.
Yeah.
A lot of learning to the point where like it kind of hurts.
Oh yeah.
You know, because it's just like it's just transformative.
Yeah.
Like it's like stepping out of your comfort zone. So
100%. It is, man. But hey, I wouldn't rather do it with anyone else, my guy.
That's what's up, my guy.
Appreciate it, man. All right, y'all. Hit us on Instagram. Peace out.
For you and for I'm trying to decide from the look in your eyes, yeah, yeah. I mean besides, but your feelings inside you, I'm messing up my mind.